Hi, Christine. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hello, hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm delighted you're here. Really looking forward to this chat. We're going to get straight into it. And with the first question, as always, Christine, is what's important to you?
I know a lot of your guests say, "Oh, there's everything, and there's so much," and it is true. And I don't want to say this same thing, but it is true. Obviously, there's a lot of things that is important. Um, I think one of the most important things is health, of
Mm,
course, because everything comes from that. But the other very important thing for me would be happiness.
mm,
Happiness in general in life for me and others, because and we can talk about this a bit more, but I truly believe that also happiness, um we're all interconnected, and for
mm.
me, I'm happy if people around me are happy. I can't save the world and make the
Yeah,
whole world happy, and you can't make everyone happy. And if we're looking from a business point of view anyway, you can't let's say serve everyone's needs and things like that, but it's not about that. It's about happiness. And again, there's differences between joy and happiness as well.
mm,
So I'm talking about the base, the happy feeling about life, and what you do for a living, of course, as well,
mm.
and with your loved ones.
Yeah.
So
I was
that would be
interested.
my peak happiness.
Yeah, no, no, I love it, and because it's an interesting one as well when we talk about that whole thing of happiness and the idea of it, and the way you kind of going a little bit into it there of what that means as almost like as a kind of a base, and you distinguish there's a difference between happiness and joy as well, which I also find quite interesting. So tell me a little bit more about, say, like what sort of happiness actually then means to you, because I know you said it for yourself and the people around you, but if you talk about just yourself first.
Yes, that is a good question, because of course happiness means different things to different people,
Mm,
and there's a lot of factors. Actually, I've also just published a book about it, because I thought all this knowledge, experiences, courses, books I've read, I basically combined myself, which made me reflect on this question, which is probably also why I chose this as what's important
yeah.
to you, because at the moment that is the thing. If I would be, hopefully not, but be really ill, I would have probably chosen health over that. And I
Sure.
know that plays a role into that. So thank you for asking in that way, not what happiness means, but what happiness means to me, because as
Mm,
I just mentioned, and happiness means different things to different people. For me, is to really be able to live your life to the fullest, whatever that means for each person. For me,
mm,
that means I have the freedom to travel. I have the freedom to say and do what I like, and also
mm.
have a job, which is my own business that I created, and that I absolutely adore and love everything I do in there. Well, maybe not everything. Doing
Yeah,
accountant is not my thing. I won't put that on the happy list.
yeah,
Um, Plus, having found love,
yeah,
and that means with a partner in that case, that I can spend the hopefully long rest of my life with, and being able to spend that quality time with my loved ones. So that also means family or partner. So I would say these three things. So my relationships, and I'm not excluding friends there. So
yeah,
love is more a wider term. What I do for a living, my freedom to move around, because my
mm,
work allows that, plus being with loved ones, and that
yeah,
is kind of a definition for me to live my life to the
yeah.
fullest.
Absolutely, love that. And I think that that word that you said there a couple of times in relation to that word of freedom, and obviously you were referring it to it in sense of being able to sort of to travel. You can wherever you want to be, you can, and you can still do your work and things like that.
Mhm.
What else? I mean, because the fact that you're in your own business and for yourself, and that's what you do. I'm wondering else of what else, said that word freedom, because again, it's another word I hear a lot from people, and even you're just
Mhm.
smiling when I'm saying it again. So I'd love to know what your sense of also, one is freedom of travel, anything else that, that freedom gives you.
Yeah, freedom really to express myself. freedom to
Mm.
do any kind of creative work I want to do. I always saw myself as a creative person, but not as a painter or anything, but more in the way I think.
Yeah.
But then founding my now partner, he's one of the most creative people I know, and that means with music, with painting, with everything. And that gave me this boost that I exploded with creativity and started knitting, I started painting, I started playing musical instruments, all that kind of things. So this expression in different kind of ways, in addition to travel, is freedom, and obviously being able to also finance that. So
Mm.
financial freedom in this case, which doesn't mean I'm rich, and which doesn't mean I think sometimes, and there were for sure times in my 11 years of entrepreneurship where I struggled to pay the bills. And now I'm not living in a millionaire
Yeah.
world or anything, unfortunately, not yet, who knows.
Yeah.
But I do have the financial freedom in this case to actually do all these things
Yes.
that I want. And also another thing which mostly comes when you have your own business, less when you're employed, is to have this freedom to take time out and to
Mm.
say, today, no, and to take holidays when you want. Again, let's talk about
Yeah.
traveling, but also just to take the day off, because maybe my partner is employed, for example, there's a bank holiday. And
Yeah.
we all know if you have your own business, they don't exist really, bank
Yes.
holidays. So having that mindset to say, no, it's okay, I take the day off as well, and not work too much during the week to have a free weekend or something. So having that freedom to say no to business, especially because it's your own, the travel aspect, the expression, and creativity. Maybe
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. No, I love it. And it's interesting that when you said about the talking about creativity, because it's and the way that you explained that you kind of thought you had some sort of creativity, but immediately you were thinking of all more in the arts,
Yes.
experience and things like that.
Mm -mm.
Um, but the fact that then obviously the influence of your partner, who is, you say, creative in that traditional, if we want to think of creative way,
Yes,
and
exactly.
then, and the influence it then had on you to do those, to become more, I love the word used, expressive. And you said there, the
Mm.
freedom to express yourself. And I think, to me, that's almost like that's the pinnacle of creativity, to express yourself in whichever way it is, whether it's through
Yes.
art or through what you do with your work. So in the sense of, you said you took up all these different sort of creative hobbies, whether it be the knitting or drawing and things. Did that sort of expression through creativity and those things, did that help you then with your business to become more creative in what you were trying to build?
I would say yes, actually, because I think if you're trying new things, and not just as in, let's call it, like you said, the traditional
Yeah.
creativity. I also started with jewelry making and
Yeah.
things like that. So not only in that kind of sense, but every time you learn some new skills or you try new things and maybe it doesn't work. So I tried other things that I didn't
Yeah.
enjoy and that didn't work and I stopped. That's also okay.
Yes.
But I think everything that you do in life and you try a new thing, even if that's go start running or read a new book in philosophy and you've never thought about philosophy before, this opens up different paths in your brain. Actually, you
Yes.
starting creating all these new neural pathways, and they give you again that freedom and that framework, let's say, to be actually more open for things that come your way, to see more opportunities, and to think maybe of new ways of delivering in business
Mm.
and of new ways of marketing business. And yes, for sure, I would say there was a lot there that also helped me to be more confident about being a bit strange and weird. That's okay. If someone doesn't like that, that's okay. I have a big fluffy unicorn that makes appearances. You can also see him here, but also in for real, in the real life, let's say, makes appearances in online courses and stuff. I've done that always, and I'm always I've always been a very confident person and
Yes.
extrovert and stuff. But yes, I would say it helped me to see completely new ways in business as well, and
Yeah.
help
Yeah.
also other people in different ways. Mm.
Yes. Tell me
and
this.
to have other topics to talk about in
Yeah.
networking and stuff. I mean, we're not
Yes.
always talking just about business, but if
Yes.
you want to talk about this and have maybe all of a sudden like a shared interest with someone else. So
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'd agree on that, because it's interesting in a sense of, say, that the companies that I previously worked for, I would have been known for, say, like the work that I did, and the specialism that I had. But I was also known as, because I say my thing was into running and triathlon and things like that. So I had this other thing that people, they'd more often want to talk to me about that than they would want to talk to me about, obviously, about the work, because it gives you a different side to who you are as an individual, and you can have a, say, more interesting conversation. And then I think as well, though, that is kind of going back to one of the words you said earlier, actually, when you were talking about this, answering the first question, that whole thing of connection, and how you actually connect with people. And especially, I'm sure yourself was as a solo entrepreneur type thing, being able to build connections with anyone who you're working with or who's working with you. It comes from being able to build those relationships and have those conversations. But if it's purely just one dimensional about the business, then it's hard to build that connection with
Yes.
someone.
Yeah, because then if you talk about other things and interests, you all of a sudden become an individual and a
Yes.
human being rather than a worker. Let's call it that. And there's nothing
Yes.
wrong with working.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you say, you can connect. You will find similar interests and people will remember you. James is the one that's always go running. I remember him, and that can help also in the business world. And I've always been that way. I love really having these human conversations about individual interests and stuff. And back in the days where I still was going to in-person events,
Yeah.
let's say, and traveling more for business, and after everything that happened in the world that went down a bit and we all got very comfortable with online things.
Yes.
However, back in the days when I was at events as well, what I did is I took hundreds of unicorn stickers with me that I got printed actually with my with Gavin here, my unicorn on it, plus my logo. And I gave it to people that I talked to. Every single person put it on their name badge. So obviously that's great. But that
Yes.
also meant they remembered me, they
Yes.
connected with me, they said, oh, she's the one that talked about unicorns. Some people asked me for even more of those stickers for their children, and then they messaged me, my child puts them all over the wall, so you never get out of my mind. So that's good. And
Yes.
also it really helped me to see who I already talked to, because if you're at an event with like the
Yeah.
3,000 people, that can be
Yes.
difficult. But again, this connection with something strange
Yes.
really helped them to remember me and things like
Yeah.
that. So even if you don't have to go that far to give out unicorn stickers, but just
Yeah.
having this in-person conversation about your interests and things can really help to connect, and you probably inspire other people with what you're sharing. You probably give new ideas,
Yes.
and then if they have this shared interest, you can spark completely new conversations. And if we're coming back to happiness, this
Yeah.
overarching theme, relationships and
Yeah.
building social connections is one of the main factors that was also proven in scientific studies and everything, that feed happiness, that help you with the
Mm.
health and well-being and really can increase your happiness. So that's what I would always say. Try to connect, have social
Mm.
connections, and not just one-off things, but find the people, the tribe that you want to surround yourself with, and go into deeper, meaningful conversations and relationships and see where that goes,
Mm.
because that will increase for sure your happiness.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. Well, that kind of mentioning that again brings us back to when you spoke about happiness at the start, brings us back to the thing that you said was like, one was happiness for yourself, but then there was happiness for the people around you as well. And that was,
Yeah.
obviously something important. So how do you sort of balance, in a sense, then that happiness of those people around you as well?
Yes, I think you need to think about yourself first. So
Sure.
that's always priority,
Yeah.
because like they say, you can't, what do they say? You can't serve water out of an empty cup. I don't know. Something like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
goes the saying. So if you don't have that energy, if you don't have that state of well-being, energized, happiness, joy. Let's mix it all in there.
Yeah.
It will be difficult to give that to others. Remember that a smile is contagious, and energy is contagious. In the end, we're all energy. We're not going to go into that now. But if you're full of energy and you're happy and smiling, automatically people behind you will also be lifted in their mood, and the other way around as well. So with a balance, I think I try to always basically spread happiness with energy, with support as much as I can, as when we're talking about friends and family as well, of course. But then and thinking, I always have, and that it's not like, oh, hey, well done, Christine, but I always think about how can I help that person? What can I want to give? So that's in business, but it's also in a personal life. And it comes just automatically. So because that's my basic understanding with my surroundings, when I see something that I know will be wonderful to give to another person, if we're talking about an object, I will buy that for that person. If I see something that I know will be of interest to another person, I will send it to that other person. And I love that, because then you see how that makes them happy, and it gives you just like this warm, fuzzy feeling inside. And again, if you're looking at research, it's really about there's studies that show, if we're talking about spending money on others will make you happier than spending money on yourself. And then if you spend it on experiences, even better than material things. But so balancing first, I come first always, because I can only be like this, joyful, happy, jumping around kind of person. If I feel that way, I'm not always that way. And then I have all my supportive, lovely people around me that luckily help me to have that happy feeling again.
No, I totally get that. And it was when you were saying that about a sense of those, going almost like, I don't think you see it as going out of your way, but you like when you see something that you're like, oh no, that person really would enjoy reading this, or they would like that, you would send it on or give it to them. But one of the things that was making me think when you were saying there is like, it was not so much a challenge, but almost to sort of, I suppose it was to challenge myself a bit more when I was just, if I'm out in public, if I'm in the supermarket, for example, it's asking the person who's serving me, are you having a good day? How are you today? It's those sorts of engaging, like I have two Labradors. So, if I'm taking them for a walk and I see another person, unless they're sort of zooming past me, I'll be like, oh, how are you? And if someone wants to come up and pet the dog, oh yeah, hello, and have that interaction with a stranger for those brief moments, because that could be, as you say, just make their day, or just have, so it's going, it feels like, oh, maybe I'm going out of my way, but it's like having those moments of connections with people. It's one for them, but you feel, they say, you as the person doing it, the same way as the person who's giving it out, you feel better for it. You get, as you say, that fuzzy warm feeling as well when you do that.
Yes, and that person will do that to someone else as well. I mean, there's so many viral videos where they show like kindness is contagious, or whatever they say then, and someone is kind to another person, that person starts being kind to someone else, and even strangers especially. I do appreciate that not everyone can do that if they're an introvert and talking to strangers, but I love the idea. I mean, doing little acts of kindness, even with a conversation, or asking how are you, or something, that's really, really lovely. I mean, there's so many ways. Even if you see that someone is missing, I mean, we've done that actually quite a lot. Also in the supermarket, when someone was like 2 cents short and didn't have, we paid. They were like, what? Or not, again, this is not to say, oh, we're doing all these great things, but these are just examples that you can do that don't cost a lot and really make someone's day. Or let someone, if you have a full basket and you have someone with 2 items behind you, you say, oh, would you like to get in front? Okay. And just little things, but love idea that asking people if they're having a good day, if they're at the cashier's desk, because I know this can be a very difficult job as well, because physically and also mentally.
Absolutely. one of the I'm going to love to ask this question because we spoke before. We share a little bit in the sense of the fact that we've both had a bit of travel and sense of and lived in different places, and it's one of the things you mentioned earlier about the whole thing of travel. And so I'm just going to ask it really broadly. What is it about travel or living in different places that's so important to you?
These new impulses, I would say.
Mm,
I mean, living in a different place can also be a struggle.
yeah,
I mean, getting like social security numbers. Not even. I mean, I remember I moved to the UK. So I'm from Germany. I moved to the UK, and I did not even know where to buy a toilet brush. I was at home and I was like, I will need a toilet brush. Strange example, but you don't know the shops, you don't know the
yes,
brands where you can get this stuff. And I was living in a part out in London where um there's not really, so it was close, let's say, to Canary Wharf, but it's not like
yes,
shopping malls.
no,
There's one underneath in Canary Wharf where I then went and bought a toilet brush at Waitrose because I couldn't find anywhere. But these things, so this can be, there's always ups and downs for
challenges,
things
yeah,
like that. However, the new impulses, I love meeting new kind of people. I'm a person that loves challenges. So in
yeah,
general, doing that. I also am a person that immediately feels at home everywhere. I
yeah,
don't know. I go there and I'm, okay, that's my new home. And
yeah,
then I'm there and I'm just getting back into my rhythm, but in a different environment. Um, Different languages. I'm someone who loves learning new languages, even for fun. So obviously I speak German, I speak English because I live there. I speak Italian because now I'm in Italy and my fiance is Italian, who speaks English as well and learns German. I started learning Swedish because I lived in Sweden, and just other languages just for fun. So if you're in that country, obviously that will be easier to learn.
mm,
And then obviously I absolutely love nature. So I'm not much of a city person.
yeah,
But if I move somewhere in a small town and then just love exploring new areas, so having these new stimuli,
yeah,
I can see how that energizes me. And I think that is the stuff about traveling. And I'm also someone who really tries as much as possible. So we all, even on the weekend, we always go into the mountains. Or last weekend we were at the French Riviera because we live close to the Swiss border for a long weekend. So every weekend it's like we see like a little holiday, and also to
yes,
explore new places and food. I
yeah,
love
yeah, yeah,
eating new food.
yeah, love it.
Yeah.
But absolutely, and it's like, but it's all of those things that you said there about travel is absolutely, I'd agree in a sense of those. It's the for me in a sense of, because I've traveled in different places. I've done a couple. I did like she's going back nearly 20 years now. We did like the whole backpacking thing around the States. Went across the US. We did Australia and parts of Southeast
Me too.
Asia.
I did backpacking New
Yeah,
Zealand and Australia for three
yeah,
months, so not too
yeah,
long, but yeah.
yeah. But yeah, absolutely. But it's just those finding yourselves in places as opposed to, oh, I'm going, and just seeing what happens and enjoying it. And I think comes back to things you said earlier, sense of being able to again open your mind up that little bit more, find yourself in new experiences. Oh, keep the way of being able to express yourself, because if you are exposed to different people and different ways of doing things, it almost goes, oh, well, if they can do that, or that's possible, you can kind of opens up the mind a little bit more,
Yeah.
and things you go, and some of the things you think, oh, I would never have done that, but you end up doing, even if it's to say trying something as simple as a new food. And again, even
Yes.
if you don't like it, it's the whole thing of the experience of trying it can open up a little bit
Yes.
more.
And really, I couldn't agree more. I've learned so much. I mean, you have a completely different view if you're seeing different cultures and different places on a regular basis, or even if you've done longer travels, even if you've done it once or something, you learn so much. And not about talking about all the other benefits that you also mentioned, becoming more open-minded and being able to learn new things and try new things, which will make you more resilient as well
Mm,
and more creative in problem solving and all these let's
mm,
say businessy kind of skills
yeah,
and life skills. But the learning from other cultures, from
yeah,
other countries, even how the bus system works, what are the brands in different
yes,
countries that we talked about. And I mean, having worked in marketing and advertising for more than a decade before what I'm doing now. That, and I still do marketing in my academy, but even there, this opened up a whole new world. And because I'm working with people around the world, so I have a
Yes.
better understanding about
Yes.
how they tick. I
Yes.
know how they work because I worked it with different cultures, cultures and in different
Yes.
countries. So even understanding other people and therefore increasing and improving your communication skills
Yes.
is immense if you travel. And that doesn't have to mean that you have to live and work in another country,
No.
but just by exposing yourself to these kind of things, you will have so many advantages in life.
Yeah.
Please, everyone, travel.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Um, you just said there again, because I do want to talk about what you do as a business. And so you said there you were working in marketing for 10 years or so before you sort of transitioned into what you do now. So tell us first now, I suppose, is like, what is it? What is the business that you do?
Okay, so I like I said, I started about 11 years ago. So there was a long time evolving into what I do now, which is
Sure.
basically the Creative Startup Academy, where I support entrepreneurs in the first 3 years with, let's say, 3 pillars. One is the starting out bit. So people are a bit overwhelmed. All of a sudden, you're an accountant, you're a marketing person, you're a salesperson, you need to create your products and services, and you probably become a website designer or need to get a basic understanding about all these things, which can be very overwhelming and lonely. Luckily, these days there's so many resources and there's also so many networks that you can join. So I created mine, where it's a combination of a community, live support by me, and resources as in online courses, how-to guides, downloadable templates, and so on. Plus then the second pillar would be the marketing bit, which I include, where I focus on low and no cost marketing, because we're talking about entrepreneurs in the first 3 years that probably don't have the 1 million or even 5,000 a
Yeah.
year to spend. Because these 5,000 you want to put aside for your taxes.
Yes.
And then the last pillar is the health and well-being, where all
Okay.
this happiness comes in, and mindfulness and taking care of yourself, because especially, I mean, lots of people can't look after themselves properly, but especially entrepreneurs can't switch off
Yeah.
from business and work, and overwork themselves without realizing, because they love so much what they're doing that they don't realize that they start burning out. And unfortunately, a lot of people, and also for me, had to experience like a shocking moment maybe in life to then say, okay, no, I need to take a step back and I need to take care of myself. And for me, that was also, I had a very stressful time and was close to a burnout. Luckily, I was able to take the breaks because having a real burnout is really difficult to recover from. In that time, I was also diagnosed with a brain tumor, and all these kind of things that made me take a step back and say, okay, let's rethink my life, rethink priorities, and not work 24 hours, 7 days a week, if we exaggerate a bit. It turned out not to be a brain tumor, just to solve this for also the listeners.
God.
However, for 3 months, you think, okay, let's
Yeah.
see how long I'm gonna live. But
Yeah.
anyway, so that's why I also included that in the academy,
Yes.
because I think it's extremely important to look
Yeah.
after your happiness, health, and
Yeah.
well-being.
Well, it's really interesting, because it's like one of the just to clarify with the next question, it's like when I chat to people, I don't do a huge amount of research. I do a little bit, but I don't, because I want to see I don't want to anticipate the conversation, and if that makes sense. So I wasn't actually aware of the 3 pillars in your academy. And I'm actually, when you said the last one, that the health and wellness, it kind of took me. I wasn't expecting that to be part of a business, quote unquote, startup academy. So I'm quite, I'm actually quite moved that it's actually part of it. That it's actually, and given the same level of, respect and interest and importance exactly in what you do for people, because obviously, coming from experience of doing it for over a decade, that you, and also the fact that you went through to a point where you nearly got completely burnt out. it's hugely important, and probably, as you say, underestimated and undervalued within the sort of startup business community.
Yes, for sure. And you're right. I will have to communicate that better. Thank you. I'm going to make a note afterwards to put those in. Because also for me, so I transitioned a lot over the past 11 years because I was doing one-to-ones, and then I was I was offering like some online courses, and then I started a community. And then, so actually just half a year ago, I revisited everything and packaged it up in a new way.
Yes.
And this is why I say this is evolving more
Yes.
and more. And also that this definition of these three pillars just came out actually now by talking to different kind of people, where I was on
Yeah.
podcasts or something. So this, even though they were always there, but
Yes.
really saying, okay, these are the three things,
Yes.
just came out over the last, let's say, couple of months in my head to become
Yeah.
clear. And sometimes you need that conversation with
Yes.
people to be able to define that, even though I do
Yeah.
that with my clients easily. Okay,
Oh
no,
yeah.
but these are the three things you need to
Yeah.
mention. But for
Yeah.
yourself, it's always a bit difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love the fact as well that you shared that, the fact that, because it really does give people, I think this is the other thing to say, is like, it's the time it takes and the consistency over that time. Is like the fact that you've been doing it for, say, for 11 years, and it's almost like, and the constant evolving is the word you said there. Things will chop and change and do, and then the fact that it's like, okay, you think, oh, you're done it 10 years, and then in the last 6 months, oh no, it's actually, you've got that
Yes.
further evolution and that next iteration and clarity again. So it's a really important thing for people to listen to. If you're in those, you think, oh, you're in the first 2-3 years or first 6 months or first 5 years, it's still going to change, and it has to change, really, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah, it does have to change because of things that are happening outside of your control and outside in the world, let's say outside
Yeah.
of your business. The way you change. I mean, now I'm my God, 42 years old. I always have to think about that. And I started my business basically when I was 31, if you want. So it
Yeah.
also took me 1.5 years to transition to do my
Yeah.
business full time. So I was starting it while I had a full-time job, not looking much after myself because my full-time job was 16 hours a day. Then if I had lunch, I squeezed in something to do for my business, and then evenings and weekends. Transition to a part-time job, was able to focus more on my business, to then transition fully. So also this is
Yeah.
something I would say to people: don't get hung up on, okay, no, I'm going to do this full, unless you have a lot of money and a lot of
Yeah.
savings that you're prepared to spend in the first 3 years.
Yes.
Do it as a side business, as a side hustle, like they say.
Yeah.
Try not to burn out and not to do it. Grow slowly into it. And it's a never-ending learning journey.
Sure.
Technology is moving so fast, so you can actually add new ways. When you travel, when you have
Yeah.
all these things that we talked about, you will come up with new ideas, and a new thing and a new skill. For me, the same with, I would never have thought, why would I? Okay, I wrote a book about productivity and courses and stuff, and also I know, okay, I'm very productive person and things like that. So that was okay. Yeah, I can do something about it. I would probably never have thought before of, oh, I'm going to write a book or do something about health and well-being and
Yeah.
happiness. But because of my own journey to get
Yes.
there, I thought, okay, maybe I can make other people happy by helping them to give them all my learnings that I had over the past 5 years, to then use that for themselves. And the same, what makes me an expert in mindfulness? Well, I've picked it up in 5 years ago, and I worked closely with mindfulness teachers, and I've learned so much. And it doesn't mean that I'm a mindfulness expert, but it means I'm giving a talk about introduction to mindfulness, for example, because I
Yeah.
can. And
Yeah.
this is also what people can then see. So this is how it evolves, because you change and your values change as well. So outside things and yourself, you go through
Yes.
challenges, you learn new skills, you see new things, your values change. You might get a family, as in get children.
Yeah.
So your life will change completely. And then you can work that into your business. And I'm really someone who's making plans and always sticks to the plans, and I get mental if I can't. Also deadlines that I set myself. I'm trying to work more on that flexibility on that side. On the other hand, I'm flexible enough to see how things change and then change with time,
Yes.
because it suits me better and it suits the world better.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's just, yeah, everything you put. I have nothing on to say onto it, because it's just that sort of constant wanting to change. And what reminding me there is, like, when you're saying how things outside of necessarily your control, or sometimes in control, can change how you have to respond. And that's kind of why as well, where what I was going to say is, like, I like this question in the sense of the name of the podcast, what's important, because it's the ability as well to ask that question at different stages of your life, because it's like, what was important to you when you were starting out, 31, is different now 11 years later. It's like, and sometimes we can only see that from reflection, and because it's different. And then you say, if you start having a family, or you might have an elderly relative that you have to take care of, or if someone gets sick or whatever. So there's that, what you were explaining there to me is that the definition of your business, as you're talking about, your business will change, but also just life will change, and things will come up that you're not expecting. So it's always great to sort of reevaluate and go, well, actually, you said, like, you did try different things. So I'm sure when you were trying to, like, set up a community within the thing, you're like, that was probably really important. But then when you reevaluate, you go, actually, maybe it's this elements of it that are important, but what I really want is this. And it's having I don't know if it's the word freedom again, to go, I need to change my mind. Because I think, when you're working with, say, the people in the startup and the academy, or with the people you worked with, is, because this, one of the things I've experienced is, like, you kind of go, no, this idea will work, I'm not giving it up, and that's sort of how people to let go of stuff, because that whole, we get that never give up, culture or quote, or whatever it is. But sometimes we need to let things go and try something else. Have you struggled with that, or is it people you work with to try and get them to sort of walk away or carry on to do something new?
For me, I don't think I've struggled so much with that. Working with people, for sure. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of people, also because I worked, for example, a lot in universities, where I worked with, I don't know, more than 1,000 students while I was there, from all different cultures, all different backgrounds, with all different kind of ideas in all different kind of industries. So that was, first of all, extremely interesting, but also first thing people come, oh yeah, I don't have any competitors, and I know it's going to work, and I'm going to have 1 million turnover in the first year. Yeah, because I heard of this overnight success. There is no overnight success. Let me just put that out there. It does not exist. Everyone that became famous and rich overnight was working on that for years. Okay, so in the background, but no one knows. So if you look at Facebook and all of these, they worked for years. What Hollywood tells you and what kind of stories behind it is a different thing, because we're all about storytelling, but there's no overnight success. Every time I work with people, I say, you need to do your research before you actually do something and waste money and time on things. Working with minimum viable products, like they say, maybe have just a sign-up list for your idea, and see what how many people will sign up for that. And be flexible with the results you get. Because if you go into, let's call it market research, just to use the term there, if you go into that not flexible, you will only see the things that will confirm your idea. You need to be open-minded and flexible, and see actually the hints that say it won't work that way, or it won't work at all. And I had a lot of times people that say, even though I said, I would never say it won't work, because I'm not someone who knows everything. I don't know where every industry goes to, and if there's a target market. I can only rely on research and facts that I find, maybe some surveys and stuff like this, and can say, look, everything is pointing into that direction. Maybe rethink and change your idea a bit and do it that way. It might be in a way you deliver something, it might be completely something else. And a lot of times people said, no, I'm going to go my way. 2 months later, they found out it didn't work and came back, which is great. But again, I'm not the all-knowing person. All I can do is I can try to read things, facts, take conclusions out of that and say, look, try that. If you really want to go with your idea, try it, but revisit after 2-3 months and see if it worked, and then change a bit and adjust. And like, if we're talking about my involvement, and like I said, just after 11 years, 6 months ago, I did everything new. That's because I got tested. I said, right, you're going to test the heck out of my website. You're going to tell me if you understand what I'm offering. You're going to tell me everything you find, apart from technical things. Luckily, there was nothing, but just from a understanding kind of view. And people say, oh, it's confusing. You have so many free things, but I can sign up to the community, and then I can sign up to the 30-day challenge, and then you have this and that. So I repackaged everything, and since then, really, it seems to work really well. And also for me, I can see this makes sense. I don't even understand why I did it before in a different way.
Yes.
But we're all in our own bubble and need
Yes.
external people that give us this impulse, and listen to them.
Yeah.
And evaluate.
Yeah. But even from even the way that you were explaining it there, and the previous instance of what you're offering now, is like, did it take this time as well to almost get it really simple?
Yes.
But for the person who may, you know, work with you and buy your service, but also for you, that having that simplicity and that clarity, because we know underneath there's be lots of moving parts underneath, and where you know how you will work with an individual or whether it be groups, but from the top of it, it's like, as you say, it's these are the 3 pillars. It's a 3-year, you know, working over your first 3 years as a startup, you know, the clarity and the simplicity of it. But it sounds like it's, as you say, it's taken the time and the going through that process to get to that point.
Yes, for sure. And like I said, doing that for my clients, for every member, let's say, is one of the easiest things for me.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
I'm one of my superpowers, let's say, see this massive cloud of things and simplify it, making things easy. It's even my tagline, and it's so easy. But for myself, no. So let's say if I would have someone like me or someone else who would have worked with me, and I should have probably done that, a specific mentor or something, I would have gone there quicker. But trying out different things and adding things and this and that, and being so excited about every new book, every new product that I do, and then put it all in there, it's difficult to take a step back and detach and see what's actually doing and simplifying it. For sure, it had to go that way, and it's great. I love it, and like I say, the journey is the end to aim or whatever. But it's like you need to enjoy all of this and everything that went wrong, and because it happens all for a reason, and you arrive at some point. And probably if you speak in 1 year's time, and you ask me that question again, what's important to you, like we said, it will have changed, and probably my business will have evolved again to something else.
Yes, absolutely. One of the things I want to ask before I forget, and I'm gonna say, it's maybe a slight tangent, but very much regarding your business, is like, where did the unicorn come from?
Yes, I do have to say, a lot of people think maybe that I have Gavin, that's his name, the unicorn, in there, because actually being a unicorn in the startup world means something. It means you're like $1 billion startup. It's absolutely not that. Because I'm not someone about working with a startup, pushing them until they can exit and sell it. I'm more working with people that make an impact and love what they do and want to really do that on a long-term basis. The unicorn, it's a bit random, came because I saw on social media maybe 15 years ago something that said, oh, always be yourself, unless you can be unicorn, then always be a unicorn. I got that printed on a t-shirt. People started seeing it, and people started buying me unicorn stuff. You won't believe what my house in the UK looked like. I had everything was a unicorn. Even if you're looking from the sponge to wash the dishes, to the toilet brush, to like maybe a shower cap, to everything was unicorn because people just started buying me unicorn things. And I was like,
Hilarious.
actually, that's quite cool because it's a
Yeah.
unique thing. If we're talking in business language about USP, unique
Yes.
selling point, I call
Yeah.
it unicorn special power.
Love this.
So then my colleagues back then, because I was still employed and I just started working on my business, bought me this massive, big, fluffy unicorn that I then called Gavin. And then I started just embracing that. And I was like, okay, I'm the unicorn person, and started using him and thought this might be a fun way, a bit of entertaining way for the academy as well, which wasn't the academy back then, like I said. But and this is how that happened. And there's actually one final story I want to talk about Gavin and why he's truly magical, which I really cannot explain. And this is a true story. So I lived in the UK. I had the unicorn. I moved away. I lived in Essex in Chelmsford. I moved away and moved up north to some friends because that was like a 2-month period before I left actually the country. So I ended my rent of the house and I left to live there. And I took Gavin, and Gavin was there, and I traveled a lot. I was working actually with universities in Armenia and in Slovenia and things, Georgia. So I was hardly there. So Gavin was there. And I left Gavin there with 1 suitcase when I moved, because I was going to come back and get the last one before I moved. I tried to reduce everything to 3 suitcases. So I left and moved to Sweden, but I left 1 suitcase there and Gavin. I went back a couple of months later to get the last suitcase, and Gavin has disappeared. And we all thought maybe it was their grandchildren that took him, but they really didn't. They searched every house and everything. They could not find Gavin. About 2 years later, so I was like, oh, Gavin is gone, had like stand-ins for him, other kind of unicorns that were there. And I told people he's traveling because it's important. 2 years later, they call me and say, Gavin is back. And Gavin appeared and they sent him to me in the post in a big package to Italy. And Gavin was back. And no one really knows where he was. And this is a true story.
That's
so he's a magical creature that maybe needed a break and travel the world and come back.
I'm gonna start trolling through social media and find he's just been traveling the world or something with it for some people. They just take it away. That's brilliant. But I love about that, the whole story, not just the fact that he disappeared and came back, but the genesis of him becoming your sort of logo essentially, or your sort of your USP, as you put it there, is that it came out of something that wasn't necessarily a plan. It wasn't like I need to come up with a caricature for my business and I'm going to, it just evolved and it came, and again it's going back to some of the things we talked about, that sort of openness of evolution, the sort of embracing whatever comes up, and that the fact that you did, like, you put a meme or such as on a t-shirt, a slogan on a t-shirt, and then everyone just starts buying your unicorn stuff, and you could have kind of gone, geez, what's up with you all? But the fact that you just took it and then it's become this thing, and then you fast forward it to the I love the story you said when you're at the conferences and giving out the stickers as a way of connecting, and then also as a way of, well, I've spoken to them, and that genius sort of just way of,
but that also came later, actually, that insight. I was like, oh, I'm actually able to see who I talk to.
But like, so you just from a silly t-shirt, or a t-shirt you thought a fun t-shirt to create, essentially created something that encompasses you now. I think it's brilliant. And I think what I would say to emphasis on the story is, like, sometimes we can just allow things, versus that say, oh, that the students you were saying about, like, oh no, this is going to work. That again, that sort of fixed perspective or mindset, versus that more open and just, let's just roll with it and see what happens. I think it's brilliant.
Yes, that's true. Thank you.
No, I love that, and it's brilliant where it came from. I love the fact that it's called Gavin as well. It's just
he is called Gavin. He has a pronoun he, if we talk
It's called Gavin. I love it. I love it. Fantastic. One of the things I love to ask people when I chat to them is about quotes and phrases, because I can find them quite powerful. So are there any quotes that are important to you?
There's a lot. There's actually one. Well, I will give you three if that's okay.
Yeah, go for
And
it.
I prepared for it for the topic of happiness, but two other popped into my mind now that you're asking the
Yeah.
question. So one is that that I always say, it's my own quote. So you want to do something, do it. You want to learn something, learn it. It's that simple. So that's my quote, to simplify things and just go for it. Really, you want to do something, why don't you do it? You want to learn
Yeah.
something, why don't you learn it? Just do it. I don't want to use that one, but
Yeah.
just really get on with it. So that would be mine. That's really encompassing everything I do, and
Mm.
that's everything I am. Another one is actually from my fiance that I got printed on a t-shirt because I loved it so much. And we did actually publish a book together about quotes for entrepreneurs. So there's like lots of quotes, including those two. And that is, only the things we judge annoy us.
Mm.
So I really love that, because if we wouldn't judge, things wouldn't annoy us.
Yeah.
And that's really a bit of a thing to get your head around.
Yes.
And then the one about happiness that I was thinking about, that didn't come from me, but from someone that some people might know, Gandhi. It's actually, happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. And I really like that, because that balances out everything. So these would be my three quotes that I
Love
would give
it.
you, that really are in my life a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love them. And again, because I think, and I love the fact that you've done a book on them. That's fabulous. Like,
I
I
had
love
to.
that. Yeah. Because I think that there's, they can be looked at in a couple of different ways, quotes that people, you can throw them away, but the applicable nature of quotes, I think, is like, if you can hear something or read something and then go, okay, I can now then use that as some sort of, whether it be inspiration or anchor or a motivator or whatever, to go on and do it. So even like the first one you said from yourself is that sort of like, love it. If you want to go do something, do it. If you want to learn something, learn it. Because again, comes back to some of the things we've been speaking about, in the sense of that, openness, and where you talk about travel, or the way you talk about relationships, or whatever it is, it's like, no, you can do it. All the things you talk about, I know I am going to try painting, I am going to try to learn to knit, or I'm going to try musical instruments, as opposed to thinking, oh, that's what other people do, putting it out there for others. So I love the fact of that. And then the other two you shared, the last one as well, I didn't actually know that one from Gandhi. But he obviously got there like 60 odd years before me or so, because it's definitely one of the things that I went up from doing this podcast, as I've been talking to people about, and this whole thing of what you say and what you do to match how you think and feel, is because we can get so caught up in doing all the time and getting stuff or success, whatever that is, but have no real love for it. You're just doing it because what else do? You're just caught up in it. And then I find there's so many times where we could have that thing that we would love to do, the thing we think about all the time, the thing we have deep feeling for, but we do nothing about it. And you're saying it's how you bring those two together is the key. Yeah, absolutely. So I love that quote from him as well.
Yeah, thank you. I actually I just looked around me, and I do have a painting here. I want to show you that I did actually.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I don't paint. This I actually tried with oils, and I was always, for whatever reason, and maybe that's a bit strange, and everyone who's listening can interpret that they want, I'm always fascinated by the scream painting. So I painted that in all kind of ways, and I combined it with the
Starry Night,
with the Van Gogh, exactly, Starry Night. So that kind of stuff, but it's for me, and it's here in the room, standing on the side. I wouldn't say I'm a painter, and I wouldn't say I'll sell anything like that, but again, to express myself and do things, I do that kind of stuff. Yeah.
No, I love it. No, because and this is where like it's really, I think, really important to emphasize that those sorts of things, because that creative side of, or that expressive side of you, of people is. I remember chatting to a lady last year, and I asked similar thing. Oh, is there anything you do, outside? She teaches running. That's her business. She has like teaches um, people to complete marathons, but the non-traditional marathon runner, if that makes sense. So more people at the back of the pack. And I said, is there something you do completely outside of running? And she says, oh, I love to do jigsaws. And it's that thing again of like, those sorts of other things, whether it be hobbies, interests, are so important, and kind of, I think, comes under that sort of health and well-being that you're talking about as well.
Sure.
Some people think, oh no, I've got to be either meditating, or I've got to be exercising, or eating, really healthy foods. Those things are be important, but what is the other thing that's completely different from what you do that gives you that joy, peace, happiness, calm? So I love the fact that you do those things just for yourself.
Yeah, and trying new things that you might think will not be your thing. I remember when I started running, I always was like, why would you run? Run is, and I'm doing it the Italian way, you see.
Yeah,
with my
yeah, I
hand.
see that. Yeah.
Why would you run? It's boring. It's there. It's exhausting, and it's taking time. And then I started running, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get into this. And that now I cannot imagine my life without it, because it's a meditation for me. It's really the one time it completely empties my mind, and I don't think about anything. And it re-energizes me. It's good for health and everything as well, anyway. But yes, exactly like you say, but also try things that you thought might not be your thing. Stick with them for a bit, and then let them go if they're not your thing, or continue.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love the quotes you shared. Are there any other people that you say that have had a big influence on you?
Yeah, I would say, well, first my family, I would really say. Like, I mean, this is a strange answer, because of course we all are influenced by our family and our upbringing. That's made us, part of that made us who we are. I would say my mom is a superwoman. Is a superwoman. If you I would give her the costume as well. And also, even though my dad might not be Superman, but and I have a sister, every one of these, and I actually wrote also like a thank you note in my happiness book to them, thanking them, because they're extremely supportive in everything I've ever done in my life, everything, maybe traveling, starting my own business, using all my pension funds that I saved up till then to start my business, all these things, paying bills when I couldn't, anything, showing interest, even they don't understand maybe what it is. So they had a massive impact on me, and I believe I'm so confident because of my family. And then the other ones I would say, apart from my fiance that we already talked about, is probably so after school I did like 3 years worth of internships to figure out what I don't want to do, which is more important even than figure out what you want to do, to then find something that I really wanted to do. Again, there I was supported the entire time by my family, because if you back then internships weren't paid, and stuff like that. And I then started working in the design agencies, and I stayed there for 7 years after my apprenticeship. And I would say that really formed a lot of the way I'm working, in a good way. It was hard work and was a lot of work. We're still friends, but I would say they have a massive impact on me, the way I work, and being also so efficient.
No, I love it. No, it's before I ask my final question, I have another question I'm going to put in here. It's like, because obviously what your whole thing is, like, you're working with startups and working with people coming from as you say, you're not trying to find the next unicorn. You're trying to find people who have a real passion for what they do and give them that sort of guidance. Do you have, like, obviously I don't want you to give away your whole program or academy, but do you even have, like, even 3 tips you'd give people who are like, in that sort of mode of coming and thinking they're going about starting their own business, even 3 things of what you would recommend that they do.
Yeah, for sure. So first thing, you can join my academy for free. There's
Yay.
a free version.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, that on a side note, because there's a lot of things in there. There's so many things to think about. One, I think the one main thing is to test your idea.
Yeah.
And that has to is a bit of market research, competitor research. I put this in air quotes because competitors can be partners as well. And I see there a lot of collaboration opportunities always. However, seeing what actually works in the market, where's the trend going would be the second thing. So actually look at and test and see where the trend is going. It's difficult to anticipate the future. However, you can up to a certain point, because you can see where the trend is going, where technology is going, and listening always to the people that you work with and also not work with. Even talk to a child. That would be maybe another tip that I haven't thought of. Talk to a child about your idea. If you can explain it to a child, it means you can simplify it enough to explain it to other people, and you will get always this question, why? And it makes you go so deep, and it makes you think about it so much that you probably get other ideas, or at least it will help you to put that into phrasing so that everyone will understand it. Because if a child will understand it that doesn't even know what it is, then everyone will. So maybe these things. So ask a child, do your research, and watch the trends.
Love it. No, that's brilliant.
Research less testing. Let's call it.
Brilliant. No, thanks for that. No, I really appreciate you sharing them. So as I said, Christine, it's been wonderful to chat to you. I do have one more question for you, which is, what's important for your future?
To keep up enjoying life as much as I can with my loved ones.
Yeah, love it.
That if I put it in one sentence, so really enjoy, because I don't want to be, and we all have these fears of future, and where's this going, and what happens to my pension, because you should think about that. But when you're an entrepreneur, it's a bit more difficult, and all these things I put aside and think everything is happening the way it's happening, but I want to enjoy life now. Too many times I hear from people, oh, I'm going to travel when I'm in pension. So if we're talking about self-employed or employed people, maybe then you won't be able to because of something that happens in the world, or maybe you can't for financial reasons, or you can't for health reasons. So for me, really keeping up this enjoy your life now mentality is what would be with the people I love is the most important thing for me in the future.
Love it. As I say, Christine, it's been an absolute joy to chat to you today. I want to make sure that people continue to follow and support you. We'll make sure any of your links are in the show notes. But if you'd like to give a shout out now of where people can connect and follow you online.
Yes, so feel free to link in with me or link up with me. I don't know what the verb would be. So connect with me on LinkedIn, let's say. You can do that, and James will have the link to that. But if you type in my name, there's probably not too much. You can also type the Unicorn Whisperer, which is part of my name. Or you just go to creativestartupacademy.com, and at the bottom of the footer, you find also all the links to my social media and also LinkedIn and everything I do.
Excellent. As I said, those links are in the show notes. So make sure you go check out the Creative Startup Academy with Christine. Again, thank you once again. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening.